Talk Radio. This is Abby Gooch, and I am so glad you are here with us today. And this morning we have a very dear guest. She is my dear friend from Portland, Oregon. I'm so excited. She's here with us looking fabulous. And we have a really special topic about really being authentic and totally being your intuitive self from your authentic self. And this woman is definitely a person that I think of when I think of authentic, because she is just so herself and just such a bright light and just following her intuition, and just super, super grateful that you're here, Clarice. So if you want to introduce yourself to our guest, go for it, and welcome to the show.
Hi. Oh my gosh. I'm Clarice Connolly. I am so excited to be here. I am an accountability coach. I'm basically like Jessica Day in real life. So have you ever watched New Girl? Nailed it.
Like my favorite. Other than
so excited to be here, and I'm so excited to talk. Like, what is authenticity? Like, what are we? How does that show up for you? And what does that even mean? Do we have time?
Yeah. I think that's a great question. And, being authentic is really being true to who you are. And then it's like, okay, who are you really? And what I bring myself back to is our heart, right? Like, there's this prayer that I got from somebody. Actually, I'm going to read it because it was from my yoga teacher. And this was like years ago, but it's called the Love All Daily Meditation. And you are your heart. Everyone is. You are that love. Everyone is. Breathe in, send love to yourself as you breathe out. Breathe in and send love to your friends and family as you breathe out. Got some background noise there. Breathe in, send love to your community as you breathe out. Breathe in and send love to anyone who has ever harmed you as you breathe out. Breathe in, love all living things as you breathe. Sister, I think we got some feedback coming. Do you want to see what that might be? Okay. Got some feedback going. Just invite everybody to take it while we figure this out. I don't know what the listeners are hearing. I just know.
Really breathe that in. Like, take that poem, take this as a nice intermission, and just like, who can you breathe and send this love to? Who can you breathe and be the love for?
There you go. All right, Clarice, I'm going to let you take it from here. I'm not sure where that's coming from. Yeah.
It's pretty quiet now.
It's echoing off.
Only when you talk, or when I talk as well?
I think when I'm talking, I think it's echoing on your computer. When I talk, it's bouncing off.
Oh, I can mute myself when you're talking?
I'm not sure if that, I think that might be what it is. Yeah. And then when you muted yourself, and
Cool.
then, actually, no, it still didn't. Sorry, guys. We're just trying to, I'm not sure. Now it's fine. Okay, so we'll just go with whatever this is. And just really breathing in that love and breathing it out, taking a moment just to center in your heart. And just as you connect to your heart, feel that place of truth, of love within you. And notice as you move into the deeper levels and layers of your heart, what you feel. What you feel connections to, what you love. And let that start to move you into a place of inspiration, what you feel inspired to move towards. And then you can notice your gut feeling, that inner knowing, that compass guiding you in that direction. And you really just become an expression of this love, right? Your life becomes an expression of this love. So, Clarice, is there anything you want to add to that? I have to unmute yourself.
For me, it's just starting small. You know,
Mm.
what's one small expression? What's one small way? And start there, meeting yourself where you're at.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah. So even in this moment, like what do you love? I think it's important if you mute me when I'm talking. And so whatever you're feeling in this moment, whatever that one little just spark of love is, taking a step in that direction. And then noticing what happens. And miracles happen, right? Those are just manifestations of love. Little things start to just happen, synchronicities happen, and you're like, wow, I am following my intuition. It's working. Totally. Go for it. Anything else you wanted to add?
I think it's really just keeping it that simple. You know, it's really wild and intimidating to see the whole full staircase and just be like, oh my gosh, how will I ever get to that? But if you follow like the small little breadcrumbs, it really just starts to build and compound and just become easy, like a new formed habit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Clarice, I really just want to create this space for you to share like more about how you've been following your intuition and living in your authenticity. Like your story is amazing. Like I followed you online and listened to your videos, and it's really fun just to like see you and learn more about you. So if you just want to share more of that and how you really got on this path of following your intuition and being authentically you.
Yeah, thanks. Absolutely. Man, I think for me, my story starts, I was raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I was on the East Coast and, I didn't have the language then, but it kind of felt like I was a dreamer born in a city full of realists. I was an entrepreneur born into like a city that, is very unionized or very, I guess just traditional, where it's like you either joined, your family's business or you were a stay-at-home mom. Or, if you wanted a career, you were a waitress or a hairstylist, and no make wrong, right? It just felt like I couldn't identify myself in any of that. I didn't want to be a mom. I didn't want to be a waitress forever. I didn't want to, do hair. I didn't want to be in a union. And so I think that there was a level of, I always reference like Goldilocks, where I was like, how about this? Ah, no, no. How about this? Ah, no, no. And I think just not stopping, I really, I felt like, the people in my high school like weren't a good fit, and I really only had one or two friends, and then I went out and found other cities and other neighborhoods and other school districts, right? And it's just like, I think about halfway through my college degree, I moved to Orlando and was like, what about Orlando? And I drove every weekend to a different city, like, what about this city? What about this city? It's just following that curiosity. I think that that's really what I want to like emphasize, and not stopping, right? And Florida wasn't it. I finished my degree and I was like, yeah, I'm going to California, right? And just seeing like, it just like the place just didn't resonate. Like, it's just sort of like, how did I end up here? I'm not, it's like I stood out and I was reflected about how I stood out. I'm like, you're so different. And I think it's like, dare yourself not to fit in, like blend in or change who you are just so that you can match your background or match the people around you. It's like, like just really like, just be curious and follow that curiosity. And I think that that's sort of the beginning pieces of, finding your authentic self, is just sort of like, if you have that ping or that like, maybe I just do it, see what happens. But I moved to California and I think, it's really, I landed in Sacramento and I was like, okay, well, I know family here. I'm going to stay here and try this. And I was like, nope, don't want this either. Like, thank you. And, I ventured down to San Diego and took a little 4-day trip and had like PB&Js and, milk and cereal. So it's not like you need $1 million to do this stuff, man. I did it like penny pinching, but that's the thing. It's like, how can you see your fears, just like honor them, give them like a backseat in this ride called life, and like just follow that curiosity, And living in California, it was really, I tried for 9 years to make it work, but it's like, you know, I got to be faced with some really hardcore adversity. I was in a committed relationship, living with this partner, and one day woke up finding that I have herpes. And I was like, wow, where did that come from? How did I get this? Like, oh my gosh, and it's like everything you think if it's attached to like this thing that's getting like thrown in your face, you're just like, well, then who am I? Who am I if I'm not this pretty face and this thing I can offer and like this way that I show up? It forces you. So it's like, how do you take the hard thing that you're experiencing now and allow that to be a gift, allow that to be an opportunity to like dig in, like, who do I be in the face of adversity? Like, it was easy to just sort of be as I was modeled by my parental units, like the victim, the martyr, just stay stuck. It's easier that way. But, it's like we don't get an opportunity to find ourselves or shine if we don't do the harder thing, or if we don't, allow ourselves to surprise ourselves, or just like keep pushing, whatever way that is for you, right? If you see that, you want to be this way and you're only been modeled this way, it's like, try this, see how far that gets you, and just keep pivoting. And in that, it's like you actually, along this journey, you're actually like showing up authentically. And if you pause to like, okay, yes, this is hard, you can also see like, but whoa, like, look how tenacious I am. Like, look at how creative and resourceful I am. And it's like, whatever your color of adversity, or whatever your situation is of adversity, it's like, if there's shame, how come? Be curious. Like, I wouldn't have been able to do it without hiring several different mediums. I had my own coach, I was doing acupuncture, Reiki, like I had so many forms of support because it takes a community. And I really just like have to emphasize that it takes a community. And, there's so much conditioning, lineage, trauma, there's your micro traumas, there's your capital T traumas, there's, how society is around you, how you've seen it, how you've been raised in it. And when you can start to peel back those layers of the onion, that is your existence, or the dahlia, the flower, you can start to see like yourself naturally give you permission to like, how do you want to take up space if you aren't doing this for this person, if you aren't living for that person, if you aren't trying to get approval from these people. And it's like, they can be super hard, but if you lean in, it's so beautiful. Because then at the end of the day, you're like, man, I just went through the hardest thing ever. I don't care if you think X, Y, or Z about me. It's like, whew, you made it through your own version of hell and back, or whatever. And that's amazing. And that's so phenomenal. And it allows you, right? Like, fast forward all the personal work that I did. It's like, I realized San Diego wasn't a great fit for me. I worked really hard to create community, and I worked really hard to find the things. And, I moved to Portland after a little trip, and I came here, and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have to compartmentalize my existence. Like, I can be a professional, own a business, be successful, be a dork, love board games, love, you know what I mean? Women, it's just like, it just keeps going. It's like, if you give yourself permission to wear the loud dress one time, you might be wearing that loud dress more often, and then you can just see the like ripple effect that has, because you're like, okay, I wore the loud dress and I didn't die. Like,
yeah, I did it.
Right. Yeah. I took the professional step to be an entrepreneur, and I'm doing it, and I didn't die. Right. Like, it's a cool, like, small, tiny way to face your fears, and a small, beautiful way to like take up space. And it takes the pause and reflection to really recognize like, oh man, I am doing it. That's awesome. And, continuing to just be curious, and really ignite and give space for that curiosity. And it will lead you to being your whole full self and authentically showing up wherever you are, as you are and as you want to be.
Yeah. I love that. The curiosity just like poses almost like the invitation and the question to follow your intuition, right? Like, I'm kind of curious about this. And then like to
Yeah.
check in with your intuition, like, does this feel right? And like tune into your body and listen. Like, are you being pulled towards it or moving away from it? Like being pulled towards it, like,
Right.
yes, right? I know what I need to know.
Totally. And I think too, there's almost a little bit of undoing, right? Like my experience of adversity was sort of this, like I needed to look like this and show up like this and have a clean slate and no baggage and this. And it's like, where are we getting diagnosed with autoimmune conditions that we're like, well, I was supposed to be perfect. And I thought, now I'm definitely not. And now it's on paper. Or, having sort of our financial rock bottom where it's just like, I was supposed to be successful. And it's like, but we have to shed all the things that are our limitations that are holding us back. And what if that rock bottom is for you? It's a gift. It's an opportunity for you to let go of what no longer, serves you. And that's beautiful. How do we lean into those and get supported?
Yeah. How do you? So like, how do you coach people in your practice to lean in and trust their intuition and trust their authentic selves to like really move through that?
It's really, the process is just bringing sort of like, what is that Santa sack of stuff you're carrying around? What is the stuff that we can just like sit, shoulder to shoulder, lock our arms and just like spill on the table and really just like look at, because there's what sort of your like survival mechanism believes you have to do, based on conditioning, based on, what it thinks you need to do to be safe or comfortable or risk adverse. And then there's sort of this like, I've never seen anybody do it, but it's kind of an inkling or a thing, right? Sometimes I wonder, like, are we so inflicted with so much anxiety because we haven't chose like our intuition to guide us? Like, are we riddled with anxiety because we said we would do one thing and we're out of integrity? And, this is sort of our dashboard light of our car that is us, right? Like, it's like anxiety, bing, 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 where am I out of integrity? It's really just like having someone sit down and look at like, whoa, okay, you got some stuff. Who doesn't got stuff? Where do we get started? And it's really just like holding you a mirror to you of like, what do you want? And then just being like, is that you speaking your essence or your authentic self? Or is that, whatever? And really just looking at like, yes, you want to grow a business, but is it to stuff it into someone's face or is it to, find a bigger why, make a global impact? Like, it's like what you've been doing gets you so far and it works. But when you hit that plateau and you want to go to that next level, expand your business, expand your existence, expand whatever, it takes some disruption. It takes someone to bring the empathy, the compassion to like, okay. And our automatic is like, but I want to be a millionaire overnight. It's like, okay, what is one way that we can move towards being a millionaire, right? And we're so, the like white supremacist culture of just like, okay, do it on to the next, do it on to the next, versus like, let's revel in that. Let's really just reward ourselves and cherish like, wow, I did this thing. Yes, it was just getting out of bed. Cool, right? And just simplifying and then growing, right? Because you need to, we're so hard on ourselves, like so hard on ourselves. And we don't realize just how great we are, and we're so caught up in the productivity and efficiency. And if you start to see like, I got out of bed today, yes, then you're going to start to like create that momentum of like, whoa, I just affected my bottom line by putting in structures, by being being in integrity, being my word, by, creating an actual business plan with milestones and working towards those milestones and seeing that these little tiny pieces actually are a big contribution to X, right? And sort of just getting out of your own way. So it's putting structures, it's having the accountability of like, okay, what did we distinguish, right, is in the way, and really like, what are we taking on this week, and just checking in, like, how's that going? What worked, what didn't, and just tweaking that. And I think just we're so conditioned to like want it now and get it done. It's like that there's no sit back to be like, okay. And it's about habits. Like, what are your habits that we can work on that serve your bigger purpose. You know, it's really starting that huge freight train of love, or whatever your life purpose is, and it's going to take a little momentum, but once you're rolling and you have all those tracks laid down and the infrastructure, like hoo-hoo, like look out, we're going to go flying past you, right? And it's like trains go far and cover lots of land, and that's, if it's your truth to want to make massive impact or make a global difference or whatever it is, it's got to start with foundational pieces. It's got to start with, how you talk to yourself and how you set up your life and your day and your words that you say to yourself. So it's multi-layered, and just starting small and really just gaining that momentum and going from there.
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned something about like who's talking or something. Like I'd love for you to just kind of like do some discernment of your intuition, your authentic self versus like maybe somebody else's thought that passes through, like the difference. Know that it actually is your own truth, that you are really listening.
Right. And I thank you for bringing that up, because I think that that's crucial, right? I was trained in this tool to really support, the people I work with in really, I call it like making avatars, right? There's, the devil and the angel, right? You have that whole idea, but it's sort of like, the negative chatter you tell yourself on a regular basis because you hear it so much. And so it's like, if we were to look at those negative belief systems as sort of, avatar, like that there are little personalities that sit in the back of your head, and we start to build out a profile, right? Like, for example, like I've had mine named World Class Baby, right? Like it's just, or Charming Baby. It's this part of me that like, I can look at it, right? Like if I'm feeling helpless and I'm like, I'm cute, can you change my tire? It's like the part of me that knows how to be like, wow, I can't get it. I don't obviously make those noises, but it's the part of me that's like, I just want somebody to do it for me, like just change my poopy diaper, right? But it's the air of that. It's the like feeling of that. It's like when you're in this helpless situation, instead of being triumphant or curious or tenacious, you just sit back and you're like, oh, why is life so hard? Someone just take care of me, right? So you can see that this part of you doesn't serve you. And also, if you're on the side of the road and don't know how to change a tire, it serves you. But then there's this like authentic, like this is your essence, right? There's this part of you that it's like who you are before the world told you who to become. And we work through this tool, and then it's like you're so conditioned in the words that you tell yourself that are disempowered, but your people around you actually see those glimpses. They see the part of you that is exuberant. They see the part of you that is authentic. They see the part of you that is wise. And, we kind of reach out to them and see what's going on there, because those are the conscious, like, places. Like when you are tapped in, you aren't sort of seeing yourself. Like you are just tapped in and in that authentic essence, of who your existence is, and like wanting to come back to. And like it takes practice, right? So it's when you start to create that self-awareness of like, oh man, I keep getting in this situation because of this projection or because of this trigger. Once you start to catch it sooner, you get a choice point. Do I want to come up and show up in this opportunity as my survival mechanism because I know how that goes? It's predictable, it's comfortable, it's or do I try to step into like, what would exuberance look like in this? What would authenticity look like coming from these places? Like, how would that make this situation different? And, it's sometimes like, what are the little things that bring you the most, like, like, and notice when people want to shut that down, right? Like, I bring board games in my car all the time because it's like, it taps into this like childlike wonder and joy and fun, and everybody doesn't have to complain or, whatever. You get to sit down and just escape into a world and be silly and like have fun. And it's like, sometimes you're like, you can't bring a game to a party. It's like, not really. And I'm like, okay. And if Andrew wants to play, I'll be in the corner of the cocktail and like having a great time. And it's like, so for you, maybe not, but like me, I'm into it, right? Let's play cards while we're drinking. I don't know. But, and it's like those things, it's like if that is what brings you joy, I'm over the top about Halloween, over the top. I love Halloween and everybody doesn't get it. And that's totally fine. I don't need them to, but it's an opportunity for people to like be somebody else for a whole day or a whole party. Like I love the creativity of making a costume and making, what I want to look like. And it's like art, it's creativity, it's play, it's joy, it's fun. And it's like simple, easy, and silly. And when you keep doing those things, like where else does that show up? Because how you do one thing is how you do everything.
One thing that you're like just bringing to mind is the essence qualities, right? So the essence of your soul, the essence is your energy, right? So it's like when you move into your heart and you drop into your soul, you feel the energy of you. And a really fun question is like, who am I becoming? Who do I need to become to actually, have, like you use the example of being a millionaire or, like reaching 1 million people or whatever it is. So just really playing in the energy of that, right? It could be like from doubt to faith. I'm going to let you talk because we're getting feedback.
Because you keep what?
We're getting feedback again. It's just really loud. I don't want the listeners to have it. So really just, moving into your essence, your soul essence, and then into who am I becoming from the energy that I am? Because if you think, your thought is just a little part, but it actually sets off your entire energetic system when you connect it with an emotion, and that becomes a belief. And the most powerful way I've seen and lived in my own life is to activate your chakras, which are those energy centers. And so when those open, it's like, I have a student driving back from the retreat right now. She's like, I'm so open. And it's like, it just literally opens your energy to then become one with source. So the universe, God, whatever you want to, call it, it then expresses itself through you, and it's constantly evolving. It's constantly changing. It's constantly growing. It's like, I love these flowers in our background that, people can see, like, it is life force moving through you. And so I think, yeah, like you said, sometimes there is like destruction. If there is, then it can always be built up, right? Because there's constantly that force. And I know for me, going through what I went through as a kid, I could feel that life force. It literally was an energy that would like bust through whatever was happening. And then I like harnessed that power because I could feel it, right? And then it was just like, man, like, what is this thing? Like, this is like intuition, and it knows the truth, and it's like love, and it creates really cool things. Like, so I would just, like you said, become curious and just be like, ooh, this feels good, and move in that direction and watch what happens. And it's the most fulfilling way to live, because like you're experiencing yourself as God, really, like the embodiment of it. So I actually do invite people to go. I wasn't expecting this, to lifeforceconnection.com and get that activation, because like you can just start feeling it and let it move you. And Clarice, like, absolutely, to share more of what you do. I just want people listening to like get started, and feel it, expand it. Yeah.
And I think that's the main piece I work with people on. I think, I've got the like type A overachievers who are spinning on the hamster wheel and just sort of like, why can't I break through this plateau or whatever? It's like, we think that we have to burn the bridges and quit whatever we're doing, to get what we need. And it's like, or we need to be able to travel to Bali to really get to drop in, to sit in the temples and to, feel that life force. But it's really, starting small. Like, it's like you can really see like, oh, where Oprah Winfrey has gone. And you can see like, I aspire to be like Oprah Winfrey. But if you're only looking at that, it seems so unattainable. Like, how do I even get there? Right. And you can feel that life force in the things that bring you joy, whatever they are, within your home. If it's a staycation, I think that's, my personal experience is that when you feel travel, or you're in travel, when you are traveling, it's like nobody knows you. You can feel and be whoever you want out in the world. You are experiencing new things. You are putting those stories behind you and just present to like whatever's in front of you. And it's like, these are the places that I think, that energy brings, that like, I want to travel more. And do it. Yes. And find places inside your city that maybe you've never even seen or tried or known about. And like, who do you show up as when you're there? You know, when you're amongst the trees, like when you're amongst the beauty or the things that like wow you and move you. And notice that, right? Like, and how do you just like hold on to that energy, plant that as a seed, and like continue to water and nourish that. And, you know, it's really, again, back to that sort of anxiety and intuition. It's like, if anxiety is your check engine light for your life, it's like, you know, where are you not following your intuition? And maybe that's why it's there. Maybe it's a barometer for like being out of integrity and saying that you know what, I am going to move my body more. And you're not being true to that part of yourself because you know you want to, and your body's calling for that. But it's really a lot of little things are sort of yelling for your essence, yelling for you to show up and be all of you and take up space and come from your intuition.
I so love what you said, Clarice, because I remember when I had the wellness center, this couple came in. It was actually the wife of the husband. And she was like, hey, like my husband's super depressed. Like there's something wrong. And I'm like, no, there's nothing wrong. It's just the depression is saying like he's literally depressing his energy. There's something not being expressed, right? And then I would know for me, like if I do feel anxious, it's like, oh yeah, why do I feel anxious? What is it that I need to do to move back into alignment so I don't feel anxious? And as soon as you're truly in alignment with your intuition, there really is no fear. Like one of the best examples is like, I was driving kind of actually to Portland, I think, from Eugene when I used to live there. And I was with my mom and there was this tire just in the middle of the road. And it was just such a split second. It was just like, we're driving, it's like there. And I'm like, whoa. But I didn't even feel fear. I just was like, whoa. And I gently moved. Like I just like, so just gently allowed myself to move with it. But there was no fear. It was like, my intuition was like, alert. Whoop. But I didn't feel fear. So that's why I know when you're in that place, to me, your intuition is the embodiment of your soul. It's your soul's alignment to itself through you. And so when you're listening to that, you will be in flow. So I just love what you said. And it really is, you know, the easiest way is to like open your heart so you can say the words I love, and that will open your heart chakra. And then you can follow them with I know. And that taps you into your knowing. And then it's like, okay, I know what to do next, right? And then you just take that next step, you know, like each step in my business, it's like, now do this. Like I'm being interviewed on Empire Life Marketing today. And they're like, you know, talk about how you do it. It is that. It's like my intuition says no and taking action. From that place of gravitate towards you because it feels really good because your vibe feels good and what you have to offer feels good, you know? And so it's fun. It becomes like a dance. So absolutely. Yeah. Anything else you want to add to that?
Well, I think that that's the thing, right? It's like, we know what we want. I just don't know that we practice asking ourselves, you know, like, what if you pause? Like, what do I need? You know, what do I want in this moment? And practicing more of that, right? And that is sort of, you know, where I just, again, get to be the mirror of like, I'm not a guru. I'm not going to consult you on your life. I'm going to sit here and ask you the questions you're not asking yourself, you know, and hold you to that and hold you accountable to making that, you know, leap, jump, skip, you know, dance into whatever, you know, and it's beautiful, right? Once you start seeing what happens, you're just like, and then it's like, again, like you're saying, that you're this clear channel for more of that to be received, more of that to come alive and ignite you from this, you know, new or forgotten place.
Hmm. Yeah, it's almost like each moment is new. I think about what you just said. It's like I literally just saw this like sheath of like white, like ocean wave that just kind of like comes and it just like clears the energy. So just I invite everybody just to clear your energetic field, to just let yourself be fully present to right now, right? And then just move forward from here and see like where is my intuition guiding me? Where is my essence of my heart, myself, my soul pulling me? Where's the magnetic pull? And that's going to move in alignment. Go ahead.
I love technology. It's my absolute favorite.
Be honest, please.
Hard no. Jeez. Yeah, and that's my truth. So yeah, I'm just sort of like, where do you go from here? I think it's just like, what is this thing that's sort of the hum in the background that, this conversation is bringing up for you? And, if you're sitting and present to that, what is that first tiny change? What is the one thing you can do this week? And, how can you celebrate yourself when it's done? And I think that that's another really important piece, right? It's like we're so busy all the time, beating ourselves up in little ways, big ways, whatever it is, however that looks like for you, that it is such a shift of like, what if you actually did it, did the thing, did a thing, and celebrated yourself? It's more of that high vibe, that more of that high energy. It's more of the, I think it's like, if we're so burnt out on the like woo woo culture of like gratitude practice, it's like, this is a gratitude practice. It's a different word. It's just sort of looking like, hey, I did the thing. Yes. Right. Like, and like, keep it going. What else did you do today? And that's where it's like, I think again, just like, it's so simple and we forget to make things simple because our mind just wants it to be hard and complicated and, unachievable or unattainable and so far out of reach. But really, we're doing magical, beautiful things every day and we don't even realize.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And that's the thing, like your intuition is beyond intellectual understanding. So when you really tap into that, like you're kind of bypassing your mind anyways, and it's just hopping on board,
Yeah. And that's the thing. So it's really like, I work with people because it's like your mind chatter is filling your whole brain, your whole existence. Yeah. And once we give this name and this is this thing and this is that one, it's like you can recognize that those aren't you. Those aren't you. The negative thoughts you tell yourself are not you. That is conditioning. Those are cassettes that have been placed in there. Those are, societal influences. Those are whatever you see on social media. And it's like once you're more quiet, you can name it. Oh, just that part of me doing that thing. Cool. Oh, just that part of me coming from fear, trying to keep me safe. Aw, thank you. And like, I love inner child work because a lot of the times it's like, hey, when's the first time you heard yourself say that? Or when was the first time someone said that to you? Right. And it's like, oh, you can touch on this immediate experience. Maybe you're 7, maybe you're 8, whatever. And just be like, what does that little part of you need? Was that little girl, boy, non-binary human? What does that part of you need? And like, how do you give that to yourself? And like, when you give that to yourself, it's sort of this like, that story might not be so loud now. And you can finally like clear the chatter and just be the channel. And that's where it's like hand in hand, right? Like having multiple forms of mediums and having that, thoughts being named, sort of like the clouds when you're meditating and they're just passing. You don't have to engage. And if you did, it's okay. We'll catch up and realize like, okay, whoops, that took me 6 hours instead of 24. Awesome work. Like that thing took you out and previously took you out for like weeks at a time. And now you've only been taken out for one day. Whoa. I'm like, and keep going. Cause then maybe you can catch it in the moment and choose to not get taken out or spiral into a shame hole, And that's the work, right? The more we can quiet our minds, the more we can receive, the more we can be present, the more that we can be a channel for our divine calling, our divine gift, like the gift that we are meant to show up as on the world. Like, Yes.
Yeah, I remember my old business manager used to say, like, does it resonate with love? So if you have a thought and it's not like resonating with love, it's like, let it go. It's just like psychic riffraff, it's just like passing through, like you said, the clouds. So it's like to really listen. Oh, actually, this doesn't resonate with my heart. This isn't really true. Does it resonate in my gut? No. Okay, let it go, because it really is just energy. And I believe there's like entities or dark energies, all these energies that like you don't necessarily want to engage with. Like they don't feel good. Yeah, like you said, they can take you out. So it's like align with the light, which is love in your heart. And if you do that, the rest will eventually fade away, because the light is stronger than the darkness anyway. So,
Shameless plug. Marianne Williamson wrote a book called Return to Love, which was sort of like if all there is love and fear, like is this rooted in love or is this rooted in fear? No make wrong, right? Like no make wrong. Just notice. It's really, that book was so good because if that's your that's your only choices is love versus fear.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that could make so much more difference for you and how you show up.
Right. And create from that foundation of love, like you were talking about, the structures and the foundation. So like that everything's coming from that heart-centered foundational place. You're like rocking out with your yes. That's awesome. That's so cool. Beautiful. So is there a way that people can like learn more about your coaching work, and how would you like people to reach out to you if they feel so inclined?
Yes. Yeah, I have a website. It's called youraccountability.coach. See what I did there? I thought it was pretty creative. And it's just, a lot about who I am, more about my story, some talks that I've done, and an opportunity to sort of read into the work in a different way. If you're someone that likes to read, I'm more of like, I need to see it kind of person, and, I love plugging and meeting with people, whether you think that there's a possibility, that there's a little twinge of intuition, of curiosity. I meet with people for an opportunity just to connect one-on-one for free, just for an hour, just to see, like, who are you? What are you up to? What's going on? And give you a little experience, because I think there's so many beautiful and wonderful, powerful, transformational coaches, and not everyone's for you. And I always recommend just having multiple conversations and multiple calls and meet with many coaches. 3. Don't go more than 3, then you're in analysis paralysis. But, like, who is someone that you really resonate? And is it a yes for this part of your journey right now? Or is it a yes for, when you get there, right? I often really get the like corporate culture, individuals that are done being robots and, feel that like I have emotions and I don't know how to use them, and, it's like woo is a little too far ahead for them, but they like resonate with some of the woo. And it's just sort of a different language. But it's all the same, and if you're not, ready to hear the like more higher, enlightened vibes, words, whatever, it's sort of this like, I meet you where you're at, and just like, okay, and that's where we're going to work for. And once you've done enough work, then you're like, I suddenly get it. Like, and that's okay. You may have been from the East Coast in a city that nobody talks about that stuff, and you're scared that it's a cult. It's not a cult. It's transformation. So
yeah, totally. Well, I appreciate you being here, and I feel like, there's such just simplicity in following your intuition and like having the courage to be authentic, because I think, myself included, like sometimes people are saying things that we don't necessarily feel to be true for us, and to have the courage to actually stand in, what, this is what's true for me. Like, I appreciate your good opinion, and what's true for me is whatever that is, because that just, it makes us stronger. It actually makes us the brightest light we can be. And it really gives courage for other people to follow, right? Because they're like, wow, she's doing it. Like I left my scholarship when I was in college, right? It's like, you all have your stories of when you followed your intuition, and think of those times and like what happened when you did, and the positive impact that it created. Because like I said before, that's your spirit guiding you.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. And in little ways, it can be in little ways that it's guiding you, in big ways. Nothing to woo for me. I am a Scorpio sun, Virgo rising, and a Leo moon.
Um,
So the Virgo rising is very like, okay. And I'm a water sign. I love emotions. I welcome them all. I really think they're barometers to like what is wanting to be said, felt, seen, like heard, taken up space, tended to, healed. I mean, it's no wonder that they're coming up or happening, or we're just in a place where no one knows what to do with them and they're just sort of like, let's medicate them down. Absolutely not. How about we listen to them?
right.
Like,
right. They're for you. They're telling you something. Right. Totally.
yeah. And I was always an emotional eater, so I was like, these are really hard. I really need some sweets to like make it feel sweeter. But it's like, what if it's not the physical sweet sugar that goes in your mouth, but like some sweetness for yourself, to yourself? Yeah, healing is a linear journey, no straight lines. Underscore. And that's part of it, right? And I think, how do we realize like, man, this is coming up again, but it's like this other layer is ready to be healed again, or for the first time. And it's not like you heal and it never comes back. You just get to respond from a different place if you choose. It's beautiful. And I feel like you never stop learning and transforming and growing and waking up.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. The awareness. Yeah. I was just talking to somebody about that yesterday, like just the awareness of how you meet the moment, right? Like you learn from whatever the past was, and then you have this consciousness and this awareness of like, okay, now I'm going to respond this way. So I think that is your intuitive response versus like a reaction of like, whoa, what's going on, from fear, anger, or whatever. So beautiful. Wow. Well, I'm so happy you're here. And for some reason, we usually have the chat going, and I'm not sure how to turn it from private to public. So sorry, you guys. I don't know what's happening with technology today. Oh, I see it. Aw, sweet. Hi, sweethearts from Washington State. Awesome. So nice to see you. Aw. So she said, I don't know if you can see this, Clarice, but Aquarius and rising sun, Mercury, and North Node, the Sag moon, nothing too woo for me. That's so cute. No straight lines follow me. Okay, did you just see this too? I just hadn't seen it. Very cool. That's awesome. Very cool. It's so funny I couldn't see it. I don't know what's going on with me and technology today, but well, is there anything else you want to add to today's show, Clarice?
Oh my gosh, I feel like there's so many things, and I'm like, okay, 12 minutes. How do we sum that
A little
up?
less, actually, before the next person gets on. So
I know, gosh, perfect. Yeah, I mean, it's really, I think that I can't emphasize enough. Like, it's like, we are so practiced at making things so complicated and so hard and so whatever it is, right? Like clouded. I think it's like, what are the little things that you're like, I have to do this, where like, is that self-sabotage? Is it, well, like you're having to do it from like a lowercase I, or like I, as this is going to move me in the direction that I'm feeling called or pulled. And, it's really like, how do you prioritize that? And it's learning a new habit, it's flexing new muscles. And so just like give yourself the compassion, and you're allowed to have some empathy from yourself, right? Like, gosh, right? How many of us don't have a million things on our plate, or life isn't the way we wanted it to look post pandemic? Like, who wasn't prepared, for how things are going to look now? Yay, good. Like, take that space in your day. 2 minutes, watch your breath. Like 5 minutes, one time this week, and just, ask yourself, like, what do I need, right? And start there and see what happens. And, trust that you you know all your answers, like you are being guided, and your intuition, your anxiety, whatever that, butterflies, whatever that feels like or looks like for you, it's like use your words, use your pulse, like use like what you experience, and try. How do you know, right? Like, how do you know that that anxiety isn't your intuition? Like, how do you know that that pit in your stomach isn't your, next best step, right? Like, you don't know until you try, and try with a lower gradient, right? Like, I think sometimes it's for a perfect example, it's like, um I'm not afraid to take up space, but sometimes I'm like, oh, I have social anxiety, I'm going to a place, I don't know what I'm supposed to wear, what's everybody else wearing, it's like, no, I feel anxious about going out because I'm already judging that I'm going to be judged based on the like super loud skirt I wanted to wear, based on, and it's like, I can see that part, or I can be crippled by it, right? I can have that old part of me that's like, don't stand out, it's unwanted attention, versus like, I love the way I feel in that skirt. And it is totally funky fresh and cool. And it makes me so joyous to like look like that and feel that way. And why wouldn't I? It's like, it's those little things. And once you start to like have that footing, have that remembering, like you're saying, what you have and recall that energy, you're really like, oh yeah, I can do that, right? And it is sort of a gradient. And maybe it is buying that fun thing that you saw on a rack and we're like, no way, where would I ever wear that to? I can go to coffee in it with a good friend, right? You're just like, oh, just like really just boil it down. And that is the work. Like, that is the work. It's like, that's a level. I like to assign levels because visually it's helpful, but it's like, that's a level 1 for you. This is a comfortable friend who knows you and loves the bananas out of you. And like, you bought a $10 skirt from Marshalls and you're like, this is so funky and I'm into it, right? And like a coffee place that you always go to, that you love the people and whatever, right? It's like, if you went out there and you tried it on and you did it and you like saw like, wow, actually this coffee's never tasted better. Like, imagine how life could feel if you tried that in a next level way.
Yeah.
And that's where it's at. Like, that's where it's at. Like, boil it down to the most basic thing and take a level 1, right? Level 10 might be to quit your corporate job that pays you 6 figures and start that job or start the entrepreneurial work that you want to do without a safety net. You're like, what? Like, ah! And that's okay. Work for that. Aspire for that. Like, that's, and period. Nope. No more
Yeah.
words.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to highlight something that you said about the pit of your stomach. So usually, like the pit of your stomach, that sinking feeling is like an intuitive no, but a lift of your gut is a yes, right? So just kind of notice like what's uplifting you, what's pulling you forward. And then, if you're already in the like, oh, pit in my stomach, it's like, maybe let that go or let that path go, because that's kind of like literally dragging you down. So that's your intuition giving you that feedback, that gut feeling of like, probably not the best path for you. But there is another one that's going to feel uplifting. It's going to give you that lightness. So, we talked a lot about like negative emotions being like, not really it. Positive are it, right? So you move towards the positive, good feelings. So there's always a flip side. There's always an opposite to everything, right? That's why there always is going to be a clear, illuminated path at your highest potential.
A learning and discerning.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like the beginner's mindset. Like,
Yeah.
how do you, I think one of the things, I think that's a great visualization as well that I'll leave you all with is sort of like, if following your intuition or following or understanding your emotions, it's like sometimes like our emotions are our toes and we're a baby and we're sort of like, whoa, what do we do with these? What? Like, and now you can wiggle them, and maybe sometimes you put them in your mouth, and when you look at a baby, you don't say like, why are you 1 day old and you don't know how to walk yet?
Right.
How come you aren't crawling yet? It's
Right.
like, we're the same way, it's like, we're just figuring out that this intuition thing feels a little funny, and maybe it's a no, but we don't know. Maybe it's a yes, but we're trying to find out what that feels like. And it's like, eventually these toes will get us crawling and up on a crawling stance. And eventually these toes, AKA emotions, intuition, like feelings, will get us walking. And then as we really start to get our legs underneath us, they'll have us running through life and living, living intuitively and living our authentic self in whatever way that is and whatever shoe you want to put on it, right? And
Or
so,
run barefoot. Or run barefoot.
Oh yeah, right. All of that.
Yeah, totally. That's awesome. So cool. Love it, sister. So is there like a mantra or something you would like everybody to have that they can kind of put in their back pocket?
Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
So in other words, take the risk and go for it. Go all the way.
Yeah, because if you don't try, you won't ever know. And if you don't ever know, you'll always question. And if, it's like, you may be doing something to try it to feel good and recognize, nope, actually that feels bad. But how do you know, right? You could have done the thing, moved to the place and found your most amazing life person, like your most amazing authentic version of self, the group of people that loves all parts of you, that you don't have to compartmentalize yourself to be around, right? Like the clients, the whatever, right? Everything, all of it. If you don't try, you'll never know.
So cool. I love it. Well, be you, follow your intuition. We're so grateful for everybody that joined us live today and everybody that is listening to the recording once this is complete. And have a beautiful day. We will see you next week. Bye.